Alright, good morning, good afternoon. I just thought I'd give you guys an update about a couple things that are bugging me, or straight out just frustrating me pretty bad. As you already know, I live here in Japan, and I'm about, I guess by Google Maps standards, I'm about 200 miles away from um, the nuclear sites. So, with that being said, I'm not at the site, but after doing a little bit of research and stuff, finding out, what's a dangerous level of radiation that's acceptable, um, and then looking at overall information about where you live, just on a normal basis, how much radiation do you actually get from just a flight or smoking cigarettes, which I don't smoke, but if I did, how much radiation are you exposed to? And I found out there's some pretty staggering numbers. Like, did you know that the average smoker, I'm not saying a chain smoker, nothing like that, just an average smoker, gets about 80,000 microverts of radiation, and that's per year. The radiation levels that they're talking about here are nowhere near that number. They're saying it because I think it's Yokosuka that they're talking about is reading a point, either 0.08 or zero point 0.8. Still, even then, let's just say it was 1. Let's say it was only 1 microvert. If you do the math, it doesn't even come nowhere close to 80,000 microverts. And their microvert measurement that they're talking about here is per hour of radiation. So that's if you're outside hanging out for, let's say you stay outside 24/7, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. You still wouldn't even come nowhere close to 80,000 microverts. That's like totally retarded. The whole assumption that you're going to get radiation poisoning or that it's an extreme danger. And then I did a little bit more research on it and read a book called Introduction to Nuclear Energy or Nuclear Science. I posted that information on my Facebook account too. That the radiation, if it's particleized, let's say that there was a nuclear waste or nuclear radiation from the plant that had exploded, those particles would contain radioactivity. Radioactive particles, being heavy, cannot travel further than anywhere from 2 to 5 kilometers. So the evacuation area for that area is actually, in the beginning was 3 and then pushed to 20. You're in 20, you're safe. Because, like I said, the radioactive particles don't travel further than 2 to I think it was 2 to 5, 2 to 3. It's not that much. I'm not a nuclear physicist or anything. I just did the research on it. But the radioactive um, steam and air particles in that area, they might be high at the plant. But like I said, the life expectancy for nuclear activity usually only lasts a couple seconds, and then it's dead. So the whole thing with everybody freaking out about nuclear plants and stuff like that, and trying to compare it to the Russian nuclear facility that had a catastrophic meltdown, this is nowhere near it. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Both of them are fruits, yes, and in this case, both of them are nuclear plants, but they're totally different. What I mean by that is the Japanese one here is an enclosure that's completely sealed that contains the entire nuclear core, and around that has a concrete seal around that too. So anything leaks, even if it does melt through the core, is going to go into the concrete container. So, and if there's a little bit of a fallout, it's not enough to contaminate everybody. They're saying millions of people. It's going to be a huge catastrophe. It's not going to explode. The nuclear power plants are no longer active. And what I mean by that is that's why they have control rods. If something goes wrong, the control rods are immediately put in to stop the interaction, the nuclear reaction between the rods, the nuclear fuel, and but the only reason why they're overheating is because it has to have that consistent, constant water even after that process, the fusion process, or not fusion, but nuclear process stops. It's still producing heat. So that heat is going to melt those cylinders and everything, and fuse the metal together and melt. That's why it's called a meltdown, because it's melting. Um, but the stuff that they're not telling you is that small information. They're not giving you the exact numbers. They're just telling you that it's dangerous. And so what happens is the news media and everybody else under the sun freaks out, panic. Oh, it's a huge catastrophe. We could all die of radiation or whatever. No, the only people that might die is those 50 people that are still there working at the plant itself. They're directly exposed to the stuff, and even then, um, they'll still be able, some of them still might live, but might not live long, depending on how much exposure of radiation they actually receive to their body. Um, those capsules, those iodine capsules, don't do jack, but only protect your thyroid. That doesn't do anything else for the rest of your body. I don't know what those miracle radiation pills, those anti-military radiation pills do, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty much the same thing, iodine pills. But anyways, besides that, the whole thing is a mess. It's blown way out of proportion. People are freaking out when they don't need to be freaking out, buying tons of food like it's the end of the world, and buying gas like they're never going to find gas again. If it was that big of an issue, the Japanese government would have told everybody in the whole upper part of Japan, you need to evacuate, get the heck out of there, move as far south as possible. But they're not. They're just telling you 20 meters back, get out of that area. 30 meters, you have the option to leave. If you can't leave, stay in your homes. And that the only reason why, like I said, that is it's those heavy particles are only toxic or radiated and only live up to like 20, or not 20, but like 2 kilometers. So after 2 kilometers, already dead. Okay, so that's one thing. The next thing is like just doing the math. For I think it was Yokosuka, the GW was measuring the radiation levels and said that it was like 0.89. Right? I already stated this in the beginning that if you're an average smoker, you receive 80,000 microverts per year. So it's just totally absurd. Even those people that live in like high altitude areas, they receive more radiation per year than you would living here right now with this radioactive issue that's going on. Everybody's freaking out. Everybody's telling, like for example, France and Australia is telling their people, you need to evacuate, you need to leave. Um, I don't know if that's the exact wording that they're saying. Maybe they might be saying that you should consider it. But my mentality is this: the reason why that they're doing that is because of the American presence here. For the American people, we aren't being told that you have to evacuate, you need to evacuate. But the media is putting it out to be like it's huge and it's going to end up killing everybody. But at the same time, they're trying to cover their butt because if you read the entire article, listen to the entire article, they're telling you it's not at toxic levels. So since it's the tone and the way that they put it across and the headlines and all that, the devastating words and panic words, everybody's freaking out. So people buying gas, people buying food, all the military wives and stuff like that are panicking because they ain't got nothing else better to do than just sit around and spread rumors, or they might hear something from somebody that they heard from somebody that heard somebody from somebody, and they just dwell on it all day long because they ain't got nothing else to dwell on. So naturally, they feel concerned about their family and think that they should leave. We need to take care of our family. Yes, I mean that's cool. You want to take care of your family, but you're not really thinking logically or taking the time to do the research to find out, well, how much radiation are they actually talking about here? Is this like a really dangerous amount of radiation? Or maybe they're just leaving because of the earthquakes. I can understand some of it because military wives and families don't really have a choice in whether they go to Japan or not. They don't really have a choice in that. If their spouse has to go, most of the time their family's going to go. But in this case, fine. If you want to leave, go ahead and leave. That's why it's a voluntary evacuation, not mandatory. So everybody hears the word evacuation and assumes that it's extremely bad and extremely worse, and it's not. The reason why they're doing what they're doing is because so many people are panicking and freaking out that it's huge, it's massive. We need to do something now. We got to get out of here, instead of actually doing the research for themselves to find out it's not that bad. So everybody's having panic attacks and stressing out and worrying. In reality, there's nothing to really be stressed out about or worry about, unless you live in that area. But so, in that being said, is they're closing, I think, some areas. I'm not going to mention where, but they're going to be doing a voluntary evacuation of those people. Some areas it's going to be mandatory only because of the location of where you're at. But like my area here is like, I ain't worrying about it at all. I'll worry about it whenever the military or the U.S. Embassy come on TV or wherever and tell you, hey, this is what's going on. You need to pack up your stuff. You need to get out right now. Then it's dangerous. Right now, because you got to imagine that the government's not going to completely lie to you, because it would hurt them more, seriously. And it would hurt the military more to not evacuate people. Think about it, if hundreds of thousands of people died, how would it look in the world's eyes? Oh, the U.S. knew this information, they didn't evacuate? Of course they know what's going on. They're on top of it like crazy. You got the whole Japanese government looking into things. Yeah, maybe they're not telling 100% of everything because they don't want 100% chaos. Just look at how much a little bit of information comes out and everybody's panicking and freaking out. Imagine if they told them everything about this is the radiation level, but they didn't give them any more information about that. They didn't educate them on how much radiation is dangerous and how much is acceptable to your life. Obviously, 80,000 microverts is acceptable to a smoker. They don't really know that they're getting that much radiation poisoning every single year, but it's straight up told to them in commercials all the time that you're poisoning yourself. You'll have lung cancer, whatever. But off that, I don't really care about the smoker part. The issue is around me is everybody's buying up gas and food like crazy. Like there's not going to be any more. So the Japanese government comes online, and I talk to a lot of other Japanese people that are actually educated, and they look at the resources. There's more than enough food for many, many years. They're not going to run out of food. So the issue is, yeah, everybody's buying things in mass hysteria. Imagine if your closet was your grocery store and you had hundreds of people coming in at one time to buy everything you had in your closet. Of course it's going to be empty in a couple minutes. That's how these gas stations are. They're small, so you put like 2 or 3,000 cars into it, it's going to be out of gas before you know it. So everybody's panicking. Oh my God, they ran out of gas at that gas station. Let's go down the road. Next day, there's another gas truck there delivering gas, isn't it? Wow, we must be running out of gas because there's another gas truck coming the next day to fill it back up. So it's just a whole bunch of BS, man. And that's all I'm just trying to tell you is everybody's worrying and panicking and freaking out. At first, yeah, I was scared because I wasn't educated. I didn't look it up. I didn't do any research. I just listened to everything that everybody was telling me, watching the news and getting worried. I was like, well, okay. But then after you do the research and you find out for yourself, it's not that bad. There's all this extra stress and worrying about stuff is totally unnecessary. Earthquakes are bound to happen. It's Japan. Everybody knows earthquakes happen all the time. If you live here long enough, you know that there's an earthquake all the freaking time here. That's why they build the houses the way they built the houses. The earthquake was not the issue in the case of all those people that died. It was the tsunami that killed them, and them not being able to evacuate fast enough. So, and even if it was that, Japanese people are pretty strict, and they're pretty strict on their building codes and everything like that. They build their houses pretty good. The average house around here doesn't really last more than 30 years because they have to keep it up to code. So, and if it was an older house, that's probably the one that fell.